Welcome to Core Game. We are a coding competition made entirely by 42 students and we are doing the best rush in this entire Piscine right now. The purpose of this video is to walk you through how Core Game works, the basics, and you can rewatch it later if you need to, it'll be in the subject. First things first, you're going to need to find your teammates. You can find them just like you found them in the previous two rushes. On intro there'll be a group created for you already and one of them will be the team leader. You should note that person's name down. Step 2, all of you have to have a GitHub account to continue. Third thing you gotta do is go to a very, very beautiful website which is available under coregame.de. On there you should log in with your GitHub account, then go to the events tab, and on there you'll be able to see the event that you're going to participate in. That will bring you to this new page. Under My Team you'll be able to create yourself a team. The team name must be the name of the intra-team's group leader. I'm just going to use my own intra name and then click Create Team. Perfect. Now that your team is created you can click on Invite Others. And once the other people have also logged in with their own GitHub accounts, you'll be able to add them here and then have the same team members mirrored as in the intra. So the team members must be the exact same team members as in the intra, just with a different account. Amazing, we're almost done. You can now, under repository, find your repository. Let's open it up. All the team members will have access to this and can work in this right here, right now. Perfect, so now let's clone this and get started. What you gotta do is click on code, and then, and this is important, you gotta select SSH and then clone with your SSH key. If you don't have an SSH key, you gotta set that up first. Hit enter to clone. Alright, now let's open up the folder we just cloned. And then in the folder, we're gonna run make def container, enter. Beautiful, this is now gonna do all the setup that's required for us. It's happened. Perfect. Now the final thing for the setup that we're going to do is we're going to open up main.c and we're going to replace the string put your name here with the team leader's intro name. Let's just go ahead and run make once to see what happens. Awesome. I lost. Perfect. What you're seeing right now is the game grid. There's currently two objects on it, both of which are cores. One of them is yours, one of them is your opponent's core. In Core Game, your goal is to destroy the other team's core while preventing them from destroying yours. You can use units and actions and objects and resources and whatever and a whole bunch of stuff to accomplish that goal. In fact, later you'll actually be able to play against the code that other Pisciners wrote and see which one of you wins. Let's have a look. The game that we're looking at right now from a bird's eye view is actually already over. You can't do anything manually. Absolutely everything that you're going to be doing will be 100% automated through the code you're going to write. So to actually do anything, you're going to be using units and command them to do your bidding. So let's go ahead and spawn a unit right now. This file right here, source/main.c, is where you're going to be putting almost all of your logic. This method right here is especially important because it gets called whenever something changed in the game, or in other words, when a tick happened. So whenever this function called ft_onTick runs, you can use it to tell your units to do whatever you want them to. There are exactly 4 different actions in this game that you can use to do everything you want to do. The first action can be used to create a new unit. It's called core action create unit. The function requires only one argument, which is the type of unit that you want to create. Here we'll be creating a unit warrior. The warrior unit is good at attacking the opponent units and the opponent core and doing a lot of damage while they do that. So let's run this, right? Again, we just execute make. Awesome! We just created our first warrior. It's right here, it's represented by a small sword icon. To destroy the core of our opponent down here, the first thing we're going to have to do is make our warrior walk down here to be able to reach it at all. That brings us to the second action in the core game, move. It's called core_action_move. Annoyingly, it takes a few more complex inputs. It takes 2 input parameters. A struct t_object pointer called unit, and a struct t_pos called position. Let's have a look at what these structs are and what they do. This is the corelib.h file, and all the important structs and functions and variables you're going to use are going to be defined in here. It has a whole bunch of comments so you can get a lot of detail about what each function does. The second parameter we're going to pass into the move action is a bit easier, so let's have a look at that one first. This is the position struct. It contains just 2 variables, the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate as numbers. Of course, the move action doesn't just want any position, it wants the position you want to be moving towards. Now you might think, well that's amazing, I can just put in the position of the other team's core and just warp there. Sadly it doesn't work like that. Every action that a unit executes can only be executed up, down, left or right of that unit's position. If you pass in something that's further away, you'll simply get an error. So for now, let's set ourselves the goal of moving to this position right here. When hovering over objects in the visualizer, you can see a bunch of information about them, like the HP and other stuff. At the very bottom, we can see that our core is at position 0, 0, and that the warrior is currently at position 1, 0. So it's clear that this cell right here is position 1, 1. Right here, I've created a new tpos struct, which we can now pass into the core action move function. But annoyingly, we're of course still missing our first parameter because, well, we have no idea what object we're trying to move here. Okay, so this is the object struct. It's a bit of a larger one, but it contains absolutely all of the information you might want to have about any object in the game. It contains stuff like the object's type, which is of course important to know. A type might be unit or core, for example. The object's HP, how much health points it currently has, and the object's position, where it's currently at right now. There's also a bunch more fields that are specific to certain object types in a union. Okay, so what we now want to find is the warrior that we just spawned, which will be of object type unit, and then which will, in the unit section, have a unit type of warrior. And importantly, it will have your team ID. I mean, you won't be able to move around other people's units, of course. So how do we find that warrior? To find it, we're going to have to search for it in the entire big array with all the objects that are currently in the game. Right now that's only 3, but it's probably going to get a lot longer soon. The central array in which all the objects are saved is called game.objects. And it's null terminated, which means that the very last field, instead of having content, is null. So you can just check for null and make sure that you don't get a ZAC fault. Game.object.I is not equal to null. Perfect. This will nicely loop us through absolutely every single one of the game objects. We can save it so we have easy access to it here. Now we must use some if statements to find the specific object we're looking for. Just a second ago, we looked at the object and highlighted some of the unique fields that the warrior will possess. This means those were the object dot type must be an object type unit. Or if it isn't, we can just continue on in this for loop to the next object, because this isn't the one we're looking for. We must also check that the unit type is warrior. Otherwise we can yet again continue. And finally we must check that the team ID of the unit is the same as our team ID. You can always get your own team ID by going game.myTeamID. Cores also have the team ID saved, so if you're looking for your own core, you can just loop like this, search for all cores, and then make sure that you only pick the one that has the same team ID as you. And if that doesn't happen, we can continue. Awesome! Hi there, it's me from one day later. My bad, but I forgot to tell you something while recording. You need to make sure that the state of the unit you're trying to use is state_alive, because otherwise, well, you can't move dead units. It's just not going to work. So you should make sure that that's the case. All right, back to old Freddy. So at this point in the logic flow, in line 28, we know for certain that this object that we've selected right now is the warrior that we see on the game field. It might be one of the warriors, there might be multiple at some other point, so you might have to loop through a bunch of times to find the other ones as well, but for now we only have one, so this is the one we found. Therefore, we can now finally pass the object into core action move. I think it's ready to be executed again. Yeah, there's a few errors. You might want to protect against those. But for now, that's fine. There we go. So the unit spawned and then immediately moved down a tile. That's perfect. Yeah, that's still not all that exciting, is it? So I've taken the liberty here to make a little bit of a small move util. You can have a look at it, but I'm not going to explain it in detail. And we can use this move utility to move fully towards the other core. The unit is the object we've selected a second ago. And then the target pos is the opponent core's position, which, as we can see here, is 5, 5. Opponent core position. Well, this is exciting. Let's see what happens now. So I've just constructed this manually here and passed it into move unit 2. Let's see. All right. So the unit is moving first on the x-axis, and then it's moving towards the opponent core on the y-axis. Awesome. And the opponent core really is in danger now, because now we're in range to hit it. So let's introduce the third action, attack. Let's make a check. If the object's position.x is 5, and the object's position.y is 4, which is where this warrior is standing right now, Only then are we going to keep moving the object over to the core. If that's not the case, let's punch it. The attack action, core action attack, takes yet again to properties. Oh, we've already got those figured out pretty much. The attacker will be the same object we've already selected. And let's attack the opponent core. Let's have a look. Oh, my bad, I swapped these two. If we're next to the core, we need to attack the core, and if we're not next to the core, then we need to move towards it. That's the problem. Let's have a look. Okay, we're moving as before. That's perfect. Okay, we're reaching the opponent core. And we're hitting it. Awesome. Okay, so this might take a while because it's only one warrior, but this will be continuously punching the opponent's core, and you can see the red health bar is going way down. We're already past the halfway point, so it's just about to die. Let's go! We won. Perfect. Awesome. Fireworks. I think the fireworks are only appropriate for such an amazing feat. Awesome. We have successfully beaten core game without an opponent or anything on the map, and with a map that is tiny. It's fine, we can do cooler stuff later. The truth is that if the opponent doesn't spawn any units, only one unit on your side is necessary to defeat the opponent. It's super easy. From the moment onwards that the opponent's gonna actually attack you, you need to have more than one warrior, otherwise you're pretty much toast immediately. The problem is we can't spawn one more warrior because we don't have the money. One warrior costs 150 balance to create. And right now, as you can see, our core only has 61. So what can we do to get some more balance in our core and fight back fiercely? This right here is a money object, and on normal maps it actually generates somewhere randomly. You don't really know where it will be. It has a balance of 100, so this might be a good goal to pick up. When a unit moves onto the same position as this object using the move action, the unit will pick up the money and it will be added to the unit's balance. Units can actually also carry money. You can see it right here. This warrior has a balance of 0, but it does theoretically have the ability to carry around with it money. So let's pick it up, shall we? I've added some new logic here to move around and pick up the money object. Okay, warrior comes, warrior grabs the money. The next thing that you want to do here would be to walk back to your own core, just like you previously walked to the opponent's core. Don't attack it though. Transfer the money using the fourth and final action that core provides. I think you can figure that one out yourself though. When the core has sufficient money again, it will also be able to produce another unit again. But there's a final object that I still haven't talked to you about, and it's this one, the resource. It also holds the money, but a lot more. So what's the trade-off? Why don't you just pick up all the resources? Well, you gotta mine them first. You can't just easily pick up the money. To mine them, you can simply use the warrior and attack it, just like you attack the opponent's core. But that's very inefficient. Instead, you should spawn another unit. We can use another unit type for this. That's way better. Unit miner. The stats of the miner unit make it way quicker at mining the resources. Once the resource has been mined, the resource will convert to a money object and fall on the floor. But it will be a money object that will have the same amount of balance as the resource had, not also 100. That would be kind of pointless. And then you can pick it up, bring it home, make some more units. I'm not going to show you. I think you can figure out the details yourself. But the code we've written here has so many flaws. For example, what if the warrior wanted to go somewhere but there was a resource in the way? You can't walk there, there's a resource, so you just keep standing there forever. Our core is also entirely defenseless. If an opponent was to send any units, we'd immediately die because they would just walk right through and fully destroy our core without us doing absolutely anything. And what if our core is on the other side of the grid? The core positions are randomized, so every single time you run the game you have a 50-50 chance of being on the top left or on the bottom right. Our logic needs to be able to handle that. If an opponent was to kill one of our miners or any unit that's holding any money, they could just take the money for themselves, because that drops when the unit dies. And how would we handle it if there was no more money in the game, if all the resources had been mined? I really hope you have as much fun figuring out how to punch your fellow Pisciners in the most efficient way possible, peacefully and with code and digitally, of course, as we had making core game. But yeah, core game is one of the clubs at 42, and it's made entirely by 42 students. So if you get the chance to join 42, you can come visit us and join core game too if you want to. If you find any bugs in the game, please let us know, because if you use any bugs in the evaluation, we'll fail you anyway, so it's really pointless. Core game is also entirely open source, so if you're interested in how any specific action or the game server or whatever works in great detail, then you can go on GitHub and check us out. Now, in the configs folder in your bot, you can find the game config. This is here because it might be interesting for you to see, for example, how much damage each unit does exactly to what object. Now if you change this config, it will actually affect your game. The changes will work in your game, so you can just give yourself an insane amount of damage or do a bunch of other fun stuff. It's fun to play around with, but editing it won't actually do anything for the evaluation. There'll be different configs used for the evaluations. I assume you still have a lot of lingering questions, and I've made this basic explainer to give everybody like a head start and make it a bit easier to just get started and get to the fun part of core game. But there won't be any more answers to gameplay related questions from now on. You're gonna have to figure all that out yourself. I mean, that's the fun part, right? Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoy the rush, have fun, good luck.